Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. Comes from Canada. Her name is Lisa Miron. Last name is spelled Miron. And she came to my attention from my friend Hervoye Morich, Geopolitics and Empire. Check out his podcasts, and all his stuff. He's on a bunch of different shows. I think he's on one with Monica Perez, Cognitive Dissidence. Check that out too. I listened to that one. But I listened to his interview with Lisa too, so I got informed by that. I also have a copy of her book. And the full title of the book that we're going to talk about today is World on Mute: How Workplace Speech Committees Are Destroying Our Nations and Eliminating Our Civil Liberties. And it's we just went through this whole thing with the shots, and a lot of people got censored. I just got my YouTube channels back. So if you're listening to this on my YouTube channels, welcome back. I don't know how long it'll last, but it was a real thing about strong speech, really. And in some ways, it's kind of a theme of this book is what happened to me, because YouTube was my place. Before I started podcasting, for people who don't know, I was running a YouTube channel. So I had a lot of subscribers. I'm not up to James Corbett, another Canadian, who I think is in Japan right now. I think his YouTube channel had 500,000 subscribers. So it was really a business. And his workplace was taken away from him, and mine to a certain extent, not as much as James Corbett, but ties into this. There's a lot of names I'm familiar with during the whole COVID scandal, the whole censorship complex. They called it a censorship industrial complex, which it really is. It's some kind of corollary to the military industrial complex, where people were being notified up into the higher levels of the Biden administration. I don't even know if you can call it Biden. I don't think Biden was running anything other than running to his bed to take a nap. But I mean, it was so strange and so against our civil liberties, and our speech rights are codified, at least in the United States, by the First Amendment, but they're really from God. It's codified in the government, but God gave us all free speech. And anybody who abrogates that is really against viable civilization or the government, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm delighted to have her. It's a long introduction. Lisa Miron, welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. Hi, William. It's such a pleasure to be with you today and discuss a topic that I think people superficially think they understand. The censorship industrial complex is very loosely understood, but I was seeing that the lawyers making arguments on cases were kind of missing what really was happening before us. And if they weren't getting it, what's the chance that the regular person is getting it? And so I say, once you become regulated, you're essentially a global citizen right there. So you've bypassed your country, you've lost your civil liberties, you're in the global system. You're in bondage. And what I saw when they were attacking speech for lawyers and doctors and other professionals, and I started to investigate, I was pretty horrified because I sort of thought that is the gold standard of any liberal society. That is the gold standard of arriving at truth. That's where we should be. And what I found was that every way to earn a living transnationally was being organized, and it was weaved together globally, transoccupationally, transnationally into one system. So people think of it as, Dr. Trosie's case, Meryl Nass's case, Reiner Fulmich's case, but I want you to think of it as the courts of the globalist. I want you to just bypass the idea that this is a legitimate hearing by a professional bodies. Those bodies have been weaponized. They are now, they are not about accreditation. And so the other thing, that I observed is either you're regulated and you're caught into the speech, or you're an independent, and those are the people speaking. So we have this perception that, we have so many sheep. I'd say 30, maybe 50% of people who are regulated and silent to keep their mortgages, to keep their accreditation, to keep their job are awake, right? This is that we're in a false dichotomy where we think that we're alone in our awakenedness. They are just muted and silent in bondage, and we have to free them. It's literally the path. The path to freedom is through blowing up these entire accreditation systems that are now weaponized. They are the courts of the globalist. You become a global citizen, and they're growing within our society. And so the book is organized in a way that makes you relate to my arguments. I alternate between my theory, whether, like I say, we're all in prisoner of war camps right now. We're all POW. We're in POW sort of camps. This is a mind war that the that the army has done, because every hot kinetic war that's ever been done, they know that they have to win the mind war first. So, I'm bringing up the arguments that this is a mind war. And I go through the Army documents on how to conduct a mind war. And I make the arguments we're in that mind war, we're in that POW camp. I talk about menticide and the examples of, Holocaust survivors and how they viewed their situations. And it's really not too different than what we're going through right now. So I'll alternate my arguments with what people are going through all across the world. And, I found examples in Pakistan, in Africa, South Africa, in New Zealand, Australia, all over the US and Canada. And it's broken up into 4 major areas, which is medical, then legal, political, and constitutional, and then woke ideology, which is maybe one of the most frightening areas, and then emergency powers. And what I argue too is the censorship industrial complex, which I show how deeply planned it is, and how the platforms were practicing as early as 2017 censorship, and they were doing monthly meetings, and I have those meetings in there. So the censorship and how it was going through was in lockstep. The speech committees are in lockstep, and these are essentially going to work with social credit, and that's in lockstep. So we can review which of the 4 areas you're most interested in, or go through them systematically. But the pillars of the globalist state are hidden behind the things we're not discussing. And what I found the pillars are a little bit psychotic, actually. There's absolute psychos have put together our world. So that's my introduction to the book. And I'm a lawyer of 26 years now. And I have a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science with a minor in chemistry, and a Master's of Law in Conflict of Interest. And I ran my firm and sued the government quite a lot, including in the first SARS case. So that's my background.
Wow. Amazing stuff. Like, amazing events happened just so recently, like within the last 5 years. It's really an incredible event, like, and how pervasive it was, like this global rollout you mentioned in all these different countries. But you have a lot of like individual cases. You mentioned people, and it's still happening, guys. This guy Reiner Fulmick, if you don't know, he did like a citizens inquiry on the whole COVID situation, and then put him in jail and trumped up charges. Like, it's literally an Assange job as far as I'm concerned. And so and the impacts are their financial impacts on me, like I stated at the intro, or James Corbett, for example. These are just 2 instances. The vast amount of people had like their careers and things like halted by all this stuff. And you're right, it's a global coup. And I think you're right. I think that but it, like you said, the mind war, it's psyop to mind war. Like it's almost like Michael Aquino's type stuff. Like, it's really incredible. Like, I think they won the battle for the brain, or battle for the mind. Like some of these the CIA doctors talk about. There's literally a book titled Battle for the Mind by, I think, Sargent or something like that. And it ties into Huxley and things like that.
Yeah, it does. And I actually have a chapter on the Masons and how the Masons were really integral and in the COVID psyop. And the background on that is, put everybody in a secret society, right? Who's a professional, right? and then use their vocabulary in the psyops. So on my chapter on the Masons, if you don't know, a lodge mandate is something that you have to adhere to. So there's two types of mandates. There's the mandate from the poo-ha of your lodge, and then there's the mandate from the lodge itself. And you have no ability to deviate from a quote mandate. So by using the language mandate, anybody in these professional societies who are locked into also the secret societies, they're using their language to coordinate behavior. And so, there's the veiled hand, right, which is one of the symbols, and it's supposed to be a conspiracy theory, but I looked it up and found the photos. Fauci comes out on his first meeting with his veiled hand, and you just have to look at all those photos in Hollywood and the Kabbalah with their veiled hands, and that's a signal that it's a Masonic operation, or it's a coup by someone occupying the Masons, right? And so then it's a coup by either the Masons or someone occupying their symbols. If I can find their symbols and I can find, the language of mandate, and that chapter also is called the vulgar and the profane. That's us, the non-secret society members. We're known as the vulgar and the profane, and so they view themselves as more endowed with knowledge and special knowledge, Gnostic knowledge, and so they're better equipped to go through life because of that relationship. And then there's the notion that anyone who crosses the Masons or leaves the Masons will be hunted and pursued for all of their life, right? And that is simply now what the professional bodies and speech committees have become. So they look like a Masonic lodge operation, really integral within it. So this, I would say if you're going after me for my speech, and my speech is actually even true beyond the fact that I should be able to speak, that it seems odd that you're going after my accreditation. But that is exactly what they're groomed to accept once they enter a Masonic society or a secret society. So there's all kinds of arguments within here that break apart the operation, the censorship operation, to show it's really one big world linked operation.
Right. That's what's incredible. And it goes up, it's like an externalization of the secret society hierarchy or something. Like it's externalized into all that stuff and people don't see it. That's the whole behind the curtain kind of thing that people don't understand, is there's literally some occultists or somebody in the Masons that are attached to King Charles III and all these other aristocratic families pulling the levers on all this stuff. And so all these other people in the front. But yeah, Fauci's kind of like was that giveaway. Distinctly remember him sitting behind Trump with his hand inside his jacket. I mean, it's incredible. There's so many insignias. That also means I'm initiated too, by the way. It's an initiation hand sign when they bring this across their chest like that. You can see Jimmy Savile do that, and a lot of other high-level occultists, Crowley. So it's a commonality that goes through even Catholic orders too. So a lot of people don't even like, some of these Catholics have secret societies in them too. Like
the Knights of Malta, right? The Knights of Malta are really big. Mark Carney is a Knight of Malta. He probably carries the passport. The Knights of Malta used to, their cover story, of course, is that they go into areas to help children after, a pandemic or, some kind of HARP weather event, and get them to their adrenochrome, destination safely. But okay, so let's take a look at what I found behind medicine, because what is the pillar of the globalist state that you can't examine in medicine? And that's I got to a place called TEDUS, and you guys, you're gonna have to just get your head around this, an acronym, okay? the for the T, European, they skip union, so TE, health, data, they grab the D and the A, space. So the European Union Health Data Space. So I'm dyslexic. It doesn't matter, right? Immediately I scramble that. How long is it going to take you to find it, William? It spells, did you scramble it yet?
Satan shady.
It spells deaths.
Oh, deaths. Nice. Okay.
Deaths.
Oh,
It
geez.
spells deaths. And so when I track that organization down, and sort of the EU is kind of the tip of the spear, but it's exemplified everywhere. And countries are just in various stages of this. And what they did was implement what are the data acts and AI acts, the data space acts for health. And when I went through them all, and just to back up, and I also review that in 2017, the EU studied chipping their citizens. What were the legal and moral impediments to chipping their citizens, right? And so it was literally what laws are in the way of us chipping our citizens. And so, I was like, oh, are we at that Revelations part already? Are we already at Revelations 13, 16 to 18? And you can look that up. Everybody, you can look that one up. Are we already there? And so the Health and Data Acts I started reading out of TEDS, and it said that health was going to become 9 sectoral data spaces. Okay, so you're not healthy. You're a certain set of data. You're not sick. You're a different set of data, and you're not dead. That's just another set of data, right? And in it, you do not have a right to face-to-face healthcare. And so they eliminate altogether the actual healthcare paradigm that we're used to. So all the doctors being silent, all the nurses being silent, all the pharmacists, all of that, right? You're replaced in real time by AI. And so the healthcare being a last resort, the face-to-face healthcare being a last resort, that sort of implies your bones aren't being set, right? It implies that your data, once you become unhealthy, is something that might work with the euthanasia paradigm that is rolling out everywhere, right? So euthanasia, vaccination, abortion. I also cover that extensively in my population activities section of the book, which looks at the funding of population activities, which basically is like just Q for depopulation. So that's a separate section that we can review. But within even these deaths or TEDS, data acts, AI acts, they redefine freedom. And so freedom is defined with the, in our near to now future as freedom of movement of goods, capital, people, services. Is that pedophilia? And data. They call freedom of movement of data the fifth freedom. So there you go. There's your Constitution, people. There's 5 freedoms. And, none of you can kill people with vaccines. You just can't talk about it, right? Like speech is the new enemy. Like it's like it's so ironic. You can do full term and perinatal abortion, which is a California thing, right? They wanted originally 2 years perinatal. That's like outright infanticide, right? So I've given birth 2 years later. Let's infanticide. That's abortion, but you can't talk about it. It's something that is defined as hate speech, especially in Canada. So I looked at this, and then I started tracking the AI acts across the world. And the OECD and the G20, beginning in 2012, started tracking every country across the world for their uptake on the AI acts. And their goal was threefold. Legal interoperability right around the world. Okay. technical interoperability, so the same technology being utilized right around the world, and semantic interoperability. So Canada was at 90% when the US, I first looked at the US interoperability, you were at 25 to 35%. God bless you. And it was because you had so many states and counties that were collecting information differently. So this system that we're not allowed to talk about is to put us into an AI algorithm completely, right? And it starts and enters in on the Vax Pass and in health and under the WHO and the UN, Assembly of Information, but it's also moving everywhere on your data acts and your AI acts. So that's where I got to when I got to health. I got to health, had no doctors. So if everybody wants to stay silent because they want to keep their job, it's really short-sighted. The power is to reclaim these societies as out of the hands of the satanic globalists, in my view.
Right. It's really is incredible. It's incredible how much thinking and forethought and how detailed they are and Orwellian in their redefinition of words like freedom. We're going to make that decision. And it all goes up the steps all the way to the UN pretty much, or to King Charles III. Would you agree with that? Or, I mean, it's something supernational, right?
Well, he's either it or a front man for it. I did a piece on my Substack on the Black Pope. I think that's worth looking at. The Rothschilds are managing the Vatican Bank, and does it go all the way to King Charles? Is King Charles just one of the many puppets in this system? He's a front face. Like, is he a Klaus Schwab front, or is he a deeper state actor? So I do so many publications. You're going to have a hard time finding the Black Pope, but if you search the Black Pope, you should be able to find it. Yeah, I don't know if I agree who actually is pulling the levers. I think it's probably the 13 families, the 13 original families. There's also an organization called skull.org, SKOLL. They do these funny spellings. And that organization, I think, is the deeper WEF organization. So you have the people that go to Skull are doing the deeds, and they're more hidden, right? So when I looked at constitutional and legal, I thought to myself, if you start curating the speech of politicians and curating the speech of lawyers, you've just eliminated the Constitution without any referendum, without any legislative, right? Because I said, if you can take out lawyers through their professional body, through their professional organization, for the speech they're not allowed to have, then they can't challenge executive and legislative power that contravenes that, right? So if I get docked for vaccine misinformation, if I get docked for transgenderism, right, then I'm out. And then so by using this rogue power that has nothing to do with the founders of the Constitution, we're eliminating the Constitution. And I thought, okay, your worst version of this legal argument would be in pleading speech that you can't even ask for. And so in my book, that's what I found. I found that what you put in your pleadings itself was being utilized, right? And so for people who don't know what a pleading is, it's your statement of claim before the court, asking for relief, your injunction, asking for relief. So a rogue power can kneecap all the lawyers who would place access of power in the executive and legislative branch. And if that rogue power is in service to a globalist institution, what you're eliminating is the Constitution. You're eliminating the Constitution because the court can't check executive, administrative, or legislative excess unless the cases are filed. So what you have is an optical illusion of our constitutions in constitutional societies. And no one's making these arguments. These are arguments that I'm assembling, and people are treating this as like, oh, Dr. Trozzi's case, or, they're not seeing it as a one beast system. This is one beast with multi-hydra heads, and we got to take it down. It's the courts of the globalists. So unless you want to be a total globalist, you got to take down the system. And most people speaking right now are outside the system. They're independent farmers, they're independent businessmen, they're podcasters. And so that the attack on the small business was part of the COVID operation, right? And then I saw in Africa the utilization of it's called Real 411, and it's a snitch line. All right, for speech you might have for supporting a non-globalist candidate in an election. So see something, do something, report digital harms. So digital, and it's actually a system where it's funded by these huge globalist foundations, and I track the funding on all of this stuff. All of this stuff universally is funded by the same fools. It's an assembly of our whole entire society. So people think they understand the censorship game. I'm telling people you don't understand the censorship game until you really read my book. So they have activist complainants. So one part of the system is paid complainants who go around hunting your speech to say you're anti-trans or anti-globalist or anti-green environment, or insert the paradigm, anti-WHO, anti-UN, anti-whatever. And so if you're going to actually think that politically you can find your way around the system, you can't. And people just think, oh, accreditation is just, I do my CPD professional hours, I learn my DEI courses, and I send in my funds. But I say the biggest globalist system is assembled where nobody's looking. Like nobody's looking at this. Everybody's looking at politics. They're looking at the federal level. They're looking maybe at voting. Nobody is looking where I'm looking. And I think it's actually the biggest untold story that's there. So one of the examples in Canada is Dr. Hoff, and it's covered in my book. And he writes the, I guess what you would call like the CDC, the Anthony Fauci of British Columbia. And what is her name? Bonnie Henry. And is it Mr. Henry? Is it Mr. Henry? They're always interesting. Eh? Is it Mr. Tam? Is it a man with an Adam's? I mean, woman with an Adam's apple. But so he writes her, and he says, I have the following adverse events I have 32 patients with adverse events, and I have the FOI on this, okay? And within 24 hours, she has him reported to his governing body and the speech committee, right? So you have a system where one person is consenting at the very, very top for what undue harms is. I find that SAFE is a decree in which somebody statutorily gets to decide what undue harms are included in SAFE. So we've taken the Nuremberg concept of consent that you had at an individual level, and we've taken it up in this case to Bonnie Henry. So and then politically, the issue that I found was the best example is Lisa Robinson in Canada. She brought a motion that, maybe you could go into your gender-based change room instead of getting naked in an all-use change room for swimming. So they've developed in Pickering a change room for swimming that you have to change women and men and children together. Okay, so you're getting naked, you have no modesty, you have no privacy. And so her motion was to have gender-based change rooms that children could access. You had to be 18 to go in your own gender-based change room. And so, children were forced to change with men. They were just forced to change with men. And she was told she was homophobic. And the political resolution would have been, well, if her motion didn't pass, isn't that politics? And if more people think like her, more people like her would get voted in next time, and they would pass these motions. Because, people are actually up in arms about this. And, Canada has just moved to decriminalize pedophilia. That came out on Friday. So just so you know, it's all
crazy.
connected.
It's totally insane.
It's
this is what they're imposing on people is off the charts. Like, I don't know how the society can stay together with this stuff. Like, who wants that? Nobody. They're imposing it upon people that nobody wants. Nobody wants like gender-free bathrooms or anybody. Like, if you had an honest poll of random people who didn't have their names, 95% would say this is crazy.
Well, actually, I think they do want these things, and we know who wants them now. Like, we really do know how. And so
the pedophiles and the transsexuals, or what?
Well, I think it's just the pedophiles are in power, right? Like, you have an Epstein operation that's so successful for so long, and every country's running their own pedophiles to blackmail, right? Like, everybody was running pedophiles to blackmail. So after a while, a few generations of that, and they're just advancing each other. We're just run by a bunch of pedos, pretty much.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Well, PFOs, you're going to have to, I don't know.
There has to be a new term, like pedopolitician or something like that. If they're all blackmailing each other or whatever, like,
right?
Super crazy. And then goes all the way back to like Roy Cohn. Like, it's not just Epstein.
Right, it's everywhere now, right?
Craig Spence was his name. He ended up dead in a hotel or something, supposedly.
Well, morality's just got to make a return. So her speech committee came after her and said that her speech in bringing the motion was hateful. Right. And she's been in her chapter is really worth looking into, because it's the whole concept that once your representatives are caught by the speech committees, you don't have the political system. So you don't have the political system. You don't have the judicial system. You've undermined the Constitution. And who would have thunk it's all in these, quote, professional bodies? And unions are the same things. Your anti-bullying policies in schools do it. It's thorough. It's thorough. And I went everywhere and I saw it. I saw it seamlessly. Like, there's not a country.
Right. It's incredible. They've chilled free speech globally, or just free expression in a lot of ways, like people walking on eggshells because they can lose their job or get called a term like you're a hater or whatever. I don't even know what these words mean anymore, but it's like, well, I mean, you have so many examples in this book. They're just story after story after story after story.
And well, the good news is, like, does anybody want the good news?
Yes.
Does anybody want the good news? Like, let me tell you the good news. They wouldn't go to the trouble to erect such a seamless censorship. Like, we're just going to end it, your media and everything. It's got to be all in line. They weren't afraid of your words. If your words weren't the way to the Second Amendment for a reason, right? Can you imagine? They've literally said the way to defeat us is through free speech. The way to defeat us and to take down this whole thing is through your words. Yeah. Like, they literally have pointed, they're like, this is our Achilles heel. This is our huge Achilles heel. And please don't look here. So that is the good news. That is the good news. Did you want to know what's behind the woke ideology?
I do. What is behind it?
Yeah. So there's two areas. The population activities, obviously. Well, is euthanasia a right? Is abortion a right? It was originally in sterilization and free drugs, free addictive drugs. A lot of these things were originally built only in the funding of it as ways to reduce the population after, the Club of Rome, etc. Right? And in fact, uh, I go down into like all these articles dating back to the 70s and the 80s and NIH articles and published articles. They would give so many rupees to you if you sterilized yourself after one child, less after two, and even less after three. Like sterilization was something that they really, really went after in all kinds of countries, third world countries, present countries. Then, an example of in the Philippines, they'd give you a lottery ticket if you would sterilize yourself. So, for the chance to win this money, you can. So sterilization was really important. When you track it, you find out that the UN had one person in every country in charge of depopulation.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then what you find out is that they needed actual entire departments in charge of depopulation. And now that's behind the veil, right? So Health Canada was actually designed in order to bring forth the population activities. So what does Trudeau get for his transfer payments, right? And so it's the sterilization where in Canada you can't disagree with your child's new gender because that's called conversion therapy. So if you question it, the minute that child takes on a pronoun, if the teacher questions it, well, she can go to jail for up to 2 years. If the principal questions it, the principal can go to jail for up to 2 years. And then they get a referral almost immediately because that's failure to affirm and that's conversion therapy. They go to a system, which is just like a treadmill to sterilization. And if any one of those adults there questions it, then they go to jail. So you've got a situation where nobody can tell the child no. So from school so once you have any embedded transgenderism within the school, that child is on a path to sterilization. Just it's unfortunate,
That's totally crazy. And no, are they actually implementing? Do you know anybody who's been put in jail for questioning these transgender things? The transgender is part of the Depop, right? Like that's why they're pushing it. Is because they know these people will stop procreating, right? Isn't that the truth?
well, there's I have a little bit about the Pritzkers in my book. Okay, so the Pritzkers funded the early Obama rise, right?
Out of
Obama
Chicago, yeah.
and Little Mike. So
Pedophile,
Obama,
claimed pedophile in the Epstein files too. One of the Pritzker people, you know, he was
right?
also a transgender person too.
They also fund heavily WPATH, the World Professional Organization for Transgender Health, and GLSEN, and all kinds of transgender programs worldwide. So they're really into funding transgenderism. But what I've recently discovered is they also funded an 18-year translation of the Zohar. Okay. An 18-year translation of the Zohar. And when you look into the claims in the Zohar, this cult actually believes that Adam Cadman, and you can look up Adam Cadman on YouTube or any place, he is Adam before they took out the rib. Okay, and he is what they think is the God that you have to aspire to, or the state of humanity that you have to aspire to. He's an androgyne, he's a hermaphrodite, he is both Adam and Eve. Eve hasn't come out, so he is man veiled as women.
It's unbelievable.
And this is like, I hope Jewish people take a look at this, because they believe that their Messiah won't come until all the chosen people are transgender, right? So the chosen people have. So do you want, if there is an elite governing society that believes your cisgendered body and your child's cisgendered body is in the way of a Messiah coming, It's it's off the chart,
Yeah.
just like something ding, 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 ding that we're not allowed to say. It's off the chart. It's like it's mass sterilization by chosenness, right? Chosen.
Yeah.
Like it's so demonic.
Yeah.
It's
It's
so
demonic.
demonic.
Yeah.
It's so demonic. So that
It's a different definition. These are all different redefining terms, though. Like people think like chosen or whatever. It's still an issue today, but like their version of chosen is not maybe what Christians think it is. It's definitely different.
well, no, but even I have lots and lots of very good close Jewish friends. None of them understand that that's what the Kabbalah Zohar says.
Yeah.
None of them, right? Like, I've gone to synagogue with friends, and they were Reform, I guess, and you didn't even know what the rabbi was saying they're just chanting and everyone's talking and it's this long service, but there's nothing that you actually take back from that service and understand. So I would highly doubt that the average Jew has no idea that the Zohar thinks they need to be sterilized in order for the Messiah to come, and that so the belief is that they will reincarnate until they come back transgender. And so that's the Kabbalah. That's, like Megan Fox, the transformer, has 3 boys dressed, identifying as girls now. Like you have the Kabbalah, the evidence of the Kabbalah is all over Hollywood and their transgenderness. So the Pritzker
Kabbalah bracelets, the red bracelets, Kabbalah. There's a Kabbalah center right in the center of Hollywood too. I drive by it all the time.
Right. So the Pritzkers are funding transgenderism and believe by hook or by crook, their Jewish friends and neighbors all have to be transgender for the Messiah to come. It's frightening. And like recently, I'm exposing this thing called Cosmo the cow. Came out of California. Do you know anything about him?
I'm afraid, but tell me about it.
Yeah, tell me about it for sure. They, you're XY, I'm XX. You're male. Your Cosmo the cow has what they did with him was the Y gene has SRY on it, and SRY encodes for male. Okay, so they took that SRY and also put it on the X. So then you have Cosmo the cow, bull. Okay, he gets his little zygote blastocyte goes into the cow, and he gets big, right? And he's XSRY, YSRY. So that when he has calves, this is what they said in the documentary, and I'm researching this heavily, because wouldn't this be convenient for the Pritzkers? Wouldn't this be convenient? So they have in your grid of 4. 2 are XY male. 1 is XSRY X, and it's a female cow or a male cow. They're like together. It's a hermaphrodite androgyne cow that is sterile. And then you have a female cow that is XSRY, and she's a carrier and she's fertile. So in one generation, you've eliminated 50% of women. In your next generation, 1 in 8 would be female, right? Because instead of Cosmo mating with an XX that are clean XX, next and an XSRY, which encodes for maleness. So if the female drops down SRY, it encodes for maleness. So you're telling me they published this in 2020 and we have all that DNA in the you-know-whats, right? 700 times the DNA in the you-know-whats, right? You don't think that they're messing with our X? Are they putting the New World Order X? And my new book is called The Decentralized Womb, and I'll be dropping it in the next 2 months.
Oh, congrats.
And
Cool. I'll have to have you
yeah,
back on to discuss that.
yeah, the
It's
decentralized womb, because the idea is we're centralizing healthcare, we're centralizing the UN, this is all globalism, we're centralizing every way to earn a living, we're centralizing it to a top. I'm telling you, and I introduce the concept in Itali to Harari in my book, we're centralizing reproduction. And in order to centralize reproduction, you have to eliminate the female decentralized womb. So you're thinking Bitcoin is decentralized? Well, if you don't have a society that can make, its own babies, you will never have a breakaway society. Use that Bitcoin on, right? So they make war between men and women. They make us they make all of this is all by design. We're at the point of the last walking for fertility, right? This
right.
is them coding to us, telling us what they're doing, right? This is them telling us what they're doing, right? So in one generation, 1 in 4 are female. And that female is a carrier of the New World Order X. That's what I'm calling it.
It's really dangerous. It's so incredible. Like literal war on humanity and freedom, like health freedom and biological. And it's really femicide, actually. There's a lot of femicide going on in the world. It's not reported, but a lot of women are killed in India and China. They have a bunch of men walking around that don't have women an outlet. They're coming to Europe. I mean, it's really super dark. We need to like get women back up on the pedestal. It's so important. Women are so important.
We're not protecting women and children, right?
Yeah,
So if you look at the laws in Canada, rape is no longer something that you get jailed for.
It's so
pedophiles, pedophilia is something, violent crimes. So you had a guy in Ontario, I think he was Sikh, and he has a break and enter. The man who breaks into the house rapes his mom. Okay? He's raping his mother. The guy shoots the guy raping his mother. He gets arrested for murder.
Wow.
Right? So the whole,
yeah,
it's insane. It's insane.
It's insane. It's an insane world. Everything's upside down. Especially Canada, it's worse. America still holds on to kind of there's lingering kind of culture here that's at least not maybe changed a lot in California, which has changed radically in one generation. Like it's not a totally different state and totally corrupt. Like billions are missing. Hundreds of billions actually in California alone. Nobody does anything because they're afraid to talk. They're on mute, like you said.
Yeah,
I would love to talk with you. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I have a 9 o'clock, but I'll have to have you back. We can talk about the whole COVID fiasco too. But congrats. Say the name of your new book again that's coming out.
So the book I have now that you can get, please support me. It's World on Mute. I've just done the French edition. It's Le Monde en Sourdine. And the end of the decentralized womb, we're walking front holes. We're persons that bleed. We have cervixes. The end of the decentralized womb is coming out in the next 2 months. So
for women, like it's kind of like the new feminine focus has to be different than this old kind of feminism. It's something else where you revere women's role in life. Like I don't know how it got away. Like there used to be this kind of chivalry and stuff like that. I don't know. The culture changed in a really bad way towards women. But
all societies succeeded on protection of their women and children. Like who went to war, right? Like you had to guard your women and children in order to have your society succeed. And so we got rid of that.
And it was terrible. Bring chivalry back, guys. Open the door for women, protect children.
Wait till women figure out that we're being told our right is to kill the baby, that they want us to eliminate because they want no more women.
Right, they just don't want women.
And figure out that they're being billed abortion as their right, but the very thing that makes women dangerous to the cabal is our fertility and the babies we make. Wait till women figure that out.
Figure that out, women.
Yeah, the hand that rocks the cradle truly does rule the world. It's really incredible. I come from a Catholic background, and like, there's a lot of problems in the Catholic Church, but at least they kind of had this like right to life thing that used to be one of the elements of the Catholic Church. And as I get older, I appreciate that more, like a lot more. Anyway, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Again, I'll put your Substack. It's Lawyer Lisa's Substack, so I'll put a link to that so people can check that out. And again, the name of the book is World on Mute. So check that out. Here's the title and the cover. I'll put a link to the book so you can get it on Amazon. Full title, World on Mute, How Workplace Speech Committees Are Destroying Our Nations and Eliminating Our Civil Liberties. Couldn't be more important. And again, the author is Lisa Miron, Miron. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. All right, let's do that.